We are live. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the All Dolphins Podcast light post-game recap of the Miami Dolphins 21-17 victory against the New Orleans Saints at Hard Rock Stadium in Week 13, a game that appeared to be very, very much in control for most of the first half, and yet came down to the very end when the Dolphins kind of very out of nowhere, almost very sneakily stuffed a fourth down run by Saints rookie Tyler Shuck to get the turnover on downs and secure the win. Not long after a gigantic play by Minkah Fitzpatrick with the interception on the two-point conversion attempt, that could have tied the score at 19, taking it all the way back for the defensive 2 points, which is very rare. I started doing some quick research for the last time the Dolphins did that. I believe I'm going to go back to 2016 with Walt Aikens, although I don't remember the circumstances, but he is showing up in the stats that season with a two-point conversion. And I can't imagine, I don't recall Walt Aikens ever playing on offense, so that's what I remember then. But I don't recall the play. So the win, good for the Dolphins, obviously, gets them to 5-7 on the season. And they're going to be in the hunt on those graphics, lurking, whatever category, however they phrase it. And now they're a game behind, only a game behind in the loss column of the Kansas City Chiefs and the Baltimore Ravens, which both are 6-6. The Dolphins are 5-7. So the good news is they have put themselves in a position where if they can make a run at the end of the season, they have a shot. The bad news is, and this is where I have to be blunt, if we saw anything from the game, if we take anything from the game we saw at Hard Rock Stadium on Sunday, this doesn't look like a playoff caliber team. And this is not to disrespect anybody. And I know it took a lot of flack and got some pushback for suggesting that this should have been an easy win. Guys, did you guys see the Saints? I'm sorry. They're plucky and all that. Give them credit. They have some decent players on defense. Kool-Aid's a good cornerback. Mario Davis is a good linebacker. Chase Young and Cameron Jordan are good defensive linemen. But offensively, I'm sorry, it's not a very high-end team. You have a rookie starting at quarterback. And if you don't think it makes a difference, that interception by Rasul Douglas at the end of the first half, watch Shuck's eyes, and he is looking to the left every single solitary second of the play, and which is what allowed Rasul Douglas to zone in on the play and I'm going to step in front of Chris Olave, get the pick. And Rasul Douglas joked, per the reporters that were right outside the locker room at the time, that he was going to get fined $2,000 for not making a pick six. And yeah, it looked like this was a play where he should have taken it back to the house. He did not. Still wound up being a big play, a gigantic play in the grand scheme of things, because if that's a six-point swing, because the Saints were at the very least in field goal range to make it 13-3 at the half. Instead, it was 16-0 at the half. And this is a game that ended in the 4-point margin. And again, also because of the giganticness, hugeness, and invent words here, of Minkah Fitzpatrick's two-point conversion, because once New Orleans got that onside recovery, they drove into field goal range pretty quickly, and they could have kicked a field goal. And they had a rookie kicker making a rookie or first-year kicker, international pathway player program from Northern Ireland, Chris Smith, who nailed the crap out of that 56-yard field goal he made in the fourth quarter. I mean, that thing was halfway up the net. So yeah, if we're going to be honest about it, the Dolphins did a lot of good things, put themselves in the position to win this game, but they just couldn't apply a finishing touch, make it a more convincing, more comfortable win, because the passing game against was lacking. Mike McDaniel in his post-game press conference was saying that the Saints were focused on stopping the pass, which I can buy to a certain degree at some point when they're watching Achan Gasham at a clip of 9 yards per run on first down, and there were a lot of those. Yeah, not sure. We'll have to review the all-22 on that one. But it was a rough day for the passing game. There were a couple of nice throws. but a lot of throws were off the mark. It was a bad outing for Tua. Mike McDaniel kind of criticized the pick in the decision to throw it to Jalen Waddle in the first place, where he had Darren Waller open underneath, Devon Achane was open underneath, and he tried to force it to Jalen Waddle despite double coverage and despite the fact that he was throwing a pretty high ball up there that wasn't necessarily that difficult for Kool-Aid McKinstry to wind up intercepting. There were a couple of throws that were just flat out off the mark. He's doing a naked bootleg on 3rd and 1, which I don't love. And the Dolphins, again, would be nice. They're running the ball so effectively, but they're back to the issue of short yardage problems. That surface there, it's 3rd and 1. You're running the ball well. Why are you running a naked bootleg? But that's what they did. And they had Julian Hill running across. He was open, threw it behind him. It was a tough catch. It was makeable, but it wasn't a good throw. Same with that inside screen they were trying to throw to Devon Achane near the goal line, where, again, catchable, throw was behind him. That's Tua normally, when he's on his game, makes those throws. He's not making those throws. He's not being as accurate as he needs to be to make up for the limitations in his game that surface in other areas, including very obviously the scrambling. And we saw most egregiously the 3rd down scramble right before the failed 4th down attempt to Ollie Gordon 2, I'm sorry, where he had an opening, a crease to either dive forward or try to dodge the defender and get tackled without taking a head-on shot, but Tua instead slid just shy of the 1st down marker, and we could quibble on whether that was a good mark. I thought he might have gotten it, but regardless, it's not a 1st down that should be left out there, and that's part of the limitations you're dealing with Tua. And then the 4th down call, again, this is a tough coaching decision. I can tell you, Fox analyst Mark Schlereth was all over it, loving the decision. This is about the Dolphins. We're going to tell you what you need. You're going to know exactly what we're going to do, but we're going to just better than you, and we're going to do it. Well, they weren't better than them. Ollie Gordon took it straight up the middle, had nowhere to go. And I know he's taken some flack for cutting it outside, making a lateral play. Wasn't getting the 1st down regardless. Even had he bowled straight ahead, do not believe he would have gotten the 1st down. But once he cut it laterally, he was tackled way shy of the 1st down. You gave New Orleans the ball at the 45-yard line. They went in for the touchdown. This is one of those where maybe discretion is a better part of valor. Punt the ball, try to pin him deep and make him go 96 yards or whatever, 95 yards, because remember, they needed a touchdown to tie the score. I don't disagree with the decision nearly as much as I do the decision to not take the go-ahead field goal against Washington after the 2-minute warning. But I think all things being equal, as somebody who is always aggressive and does not like to leave it to the defense, I think the play there would have been to go ahead and pin him deep. The other question there also, of course, is why is Devon Achane not in the game? Maybe he was gassed. Ollie Gordon's been your big back, but Devon Achane's your better back, and it's not even close. Devon Achane crossed the 1,000-yard mark for the season during this game. If it wasn't completely crystal clear that he's your team MVP in 2025, I don't know what you've been watching. Every single solitary game, the Dolphins have found their formula. Their formula is very simple, and even with the return of Darren Waller to the lineup, with Julian Hill having been back for a couple of weeks, Julian Hill had a very nice day in the blocking department. Dolphins still are using the heavy formation jumbo package, whatever you want to call it, with Daniel Brunskill lining up as a 6th offensive lineman or an extra tight end, however you want to characterize it. And for the most part, the results were good. But again, at the end of the game, we're looking at 21 points, 1 touchdown, and 2 of those points came because of a defensive 2-point conversion. Then this is after scoring 16 points against Washington, which had one of the worst defenses in the NFL. So if we're looking glass half full, the running game is helping the Dolphins win games, control the clock, and I guess avoid takeaways. Glass half empty. Dolphins, they're not a very explosive offense right now. They're not doing a great job. And the areas where it's starting to manifest itself pretty frequently is red zone offense and third down. Third down again today. I believe the final numbers were 4 for 12. It's not very good. That's just flat out not very good. Let me look at it real quickly here. Wrong game. Dolphins 4 for 12. That's just not very good. They finished with 298 total yards. That's not very impressive. And then you're looking at the running game. It's 164 yards, 5.1 average, which is excellent. But again, it's not producing a whole lot of big plays. The longest pass play was like 31 yards to Jalen Waddle up the middle. It was to Darren Waller for 34 yards on the left sideline when the Saints lost him in coverage. But this is not the same offense. Obviously, the Dolphins don't have Tyreek Hill, who was, as we've said it many times, he was the one who made this offense. When it was dynamic at its most explosive, it was Tyreek Hill who was the guy who made that go. And we've seen no matter how well Jalen Waddle has played, not quite the same thing. And the difference we're seeing as well is on third down. Okay, let's talk about the defense a little bit. Great first half. Not so much the second half. They were completely stuffing the New Orleans running game with Devin Neal and Evan Hall and who else? Taysom Hill, I think, may have had a carry. First half, very, very well. Second half, it wasn't quite as good. I'm not quite sure what adjustments the Saints made at halftime to rectify the situation, but there were issues. Tyler Shuck also has started having some success in the second half, but the big plays were huge. The Minkah Fitzpatrick, in addition to the 2-point score, also had a sack strip in the first half. Rasul Douglas had the interception. If he had good speed, that should have been a pick six, but you could see it once you got into the open field. It was like, man, dude can't run, or can't run as well as a top-end speed cornerback. But that's not his game, and Rasul Douglas has played very, very well the whole year. To me, he's been a very, very good acquisition for the Dolphins, so no problem there. Zach Sealer had himself a very good game. Chop Robinson had a sack. It was kind of like, I don't want to call it a garbage sack, but it was a coverage sack where Shuck moved up into the pocket. He's the one credited for the fourth down stop at the end of the game, where Jordan Phillips also gets credit for pushing back the middle or holding the point in the middle of the defensive line as well. Robinson also caused a holding penalty on the Saints. So again, he was a little bit impactful. Zach Sealer was more impactful than he had been. But as far as I see it, to me, the overriding theme of this game is, first of all, 16-0 is not a bad lead in the first half, but it felt like it should have been more. It just felt like the Dolphins were leaving points on the field that it never should have been in doubt. And in the second half, of course, this has been an issue. I don't know exactly what the numbers are. This has been an issue at times this season. Saints took the second half kickoff march right down the field, 2-point conversion, boom, your 16-0 lead is cut in half. It's now 16-8. No, that wasn't ideal. Again, the level of competition is going to go up pretty soon. Actually, it's going to go up from the Saints next Sunday when the Dolphins face the Jets, who got a last-second win against the Atlanta Falcons on Sunday on a 56-yard field goal by Nick Folk. They're 3-2 in their last 5 games after starting, 3-0-7. And they played Baltimore tough, and their other loss also was against a good team where they gave them a decent game. So they're a lot more functional as a team than they were in week 4. And even at that point, the Dolphins barely beat them. So Dolphins are going to have to pick up their level of play. That's the bottom line, is they put themselves, again, in a position where if they do make some improvements where they need to make improvements and pick up their level of play, again, their record now is not, it's still in a position where they actually can do something. So pretty much all I got on my plate at this time. So let's turn it over to the chat, as we always do here. And as I've forgotten to do, as I sometimes do, shame on me. Big thank you for everyone joining me right now. It's very much appreciated. Please check out the written content for free, Miami Dolphins on SI.com. So with that, let's attack the comment board here, the chat. Birthday Salami, thank you very much for the donation, sir. This game was brought to you by BetterHelp. I have no idea what that means. Sounds funny, but I have no idea what that means. Birthday Salami again, thank you very much, sir. Team game, but says a lot when your $50 million QB looks worse than their second-round QB, maternity body with a baby arm, truly poetic. No, it's in fact, this was one of my lines in the story I wrote, my analysis story I wrote for Miami Dolphins on SI.com. Again, all free content. Please check it out. That the time has come. We need to discuss, if we're not already there, the Dolphins have a Tua problem because the dude just doesn't look good. And again, when he was operating at his best, 2020 to 2023, he is very, very accurate. The ball gets out, and right now, neither of those things are happening. And you just, that's not going to fly because, again, he doesn't have the arm strength or the mobility, the playmaking ability to compensate in other areas. So right now, the Dolphins are operating with a deficient passing game. They're relying a ton on their running game and their defense. So we shall see where that goes. Mandalorian, thank you very much for the donation. Very much appreciated. Welsh Pound, thank you. Where would we be without Achan? I find it hard to believe we'll win another game this season. Are we still, quote unquote, in the hunt? Absolutely, the Dolphins are in the hunt. But that anticipates their level of play coming up because they play the way they played against Washington or New Orleans. Don't know if they beat the Jets. They're not beating the Steelers. Probably not beating the Bengals. They're not beating Tampa Bay and probably not beating New England, unless New England has wrapped up the first seed in the AFC and is resting their starters. So, but they are in the hunt at 5-7. Again, it's crazy to think when you think about the disparity in terms of the talent of the team. Dolphins are a game behind the Kansas City Chiefs and the Baltimore Ravens. Let's see what we got here. Shadow Fatez, thank you very much for the donation, sir, and I certainly hope I'm pronouncing the name correctly. This game, I think, should seal a full wipe in offseason. Tua hurts the Fins as much as helps. McDaniel may be a decent coach, but have to clean sweep. Or, to me, but they won. Again, they're 5-7 now after starting 1-6. I think, if anything, there could be an argument that Mike McDaniel is finding ways to win, and this is what's going on with the Dolphins. Like they actually played better games earlier this season when they lost than they played today or against Washington when they won. Now they're finding ways to win. They're getting the breaks. They're making plays down the stretch, and the results are better ultimately. So I right now, again, I've said it before, in fact, in a mailbag on MiamiDolphins.si.com. At this point right now, to me, it's better than 50-50 that Mike McDaniel indeed will be back in 2026. The issue with Tua is that contract. Dolphins are not getting rid of him and eating all that salary cap space. I still see with another performance like this today, again, please tell me why any team around the league would go ahead and want to trade for him when they have to pay him, I believe it's $47 million next year. The number is higher for the Dolphins because of signing bonus. I just don't get it. I'm sorry, I just don't see it. No, buddy, thank you very much. No, for the donation, much appreciated. Expected a sharper game after a bye week. Love the win, but man, was that hard to watch. Yeah, it was rough. It was rough. Again, I'll give the Saints credit for their plucky and all that. Not a very good team. What they punt on 4th and 4 in the first half from the Miami 45-yard line, down 7-0 when you're 2-9. That was weird to me. But I don't know. They said no as no lads later. Talk about playing down to your competition. Yeah. Yep. Without question. Aben Bergman, 8866. Thank you very much for the donation, sir. Is it only me or the O-line looks better without Austin Jackson? I would say the offensive line actually kind of took a step back today, particularly in pass protection. Although it says here the New Orleans pass rush a lot better than the Washington pass rush. But I would say, yeah, and this is not nothing against Austin Jackson. Larry Bourne has played some good football, like it or not. Patrick Paul maybe had one of his tougher games in terms of pass protection against the Saints. But I don't know if is it again, as Mike McDaniel likes to say, is it causation or correlation? Pure coincidence? Not quite sure, but we shall see how it goes. And I do know McDaniel had talked about the possibility of a rotation system with Jackson and Larry Bourne. That did not happen. Did not see Larry Bourne at all in there. So it was Austin Jackson all the way. Shadow again, thank you very much, sir, or ma'am, sorry. I agree, McDaniel looks like he's making good off plays. Tua kills the Finns. Is that cut Tua? And then McDaniel said new GM can make a team. Again, they're not cutting Tua in 2026. They're just not. I would be shocked. Ruben, I'm going to address this one. At the end of the day, anyone that complains about another win, please go support another team. Is it okay, Ruben, if we appreciate the win, but also are realistic enough to understand that the performance today is not going to be good enough if the idea is to make a legitimate run at a playoff spot to be in the conversation in week 17, week 18? If you think that was perfectly fine what you saw out there because they won and nothing else matters, good for you. For me, to me, that wouldn't cut it. Let's see what else we got here. Okay, let's go back to the top. Chan reminds me of Tony Dorsett. I see some Marshall Faulk, some Alvin Kamara to him. I don't know about Tony Dorsett, but yeah, it's not a terrible comp. The Dolphin offense, Chan, that's it. No, Jalen Waddle's a factor too. And Darren Waller, although I don't know why he only caught 2 passes, was targeted only 3 times, only once in the second half. That was a little weird to me. Are the Dolphins withholding offensive plays? Not at this stage of the season when they're trying to win games. Man, Mike makes things harder than they need to be. Why are you now running HN more, especially in the drive? He got his 1,000 yards and took the offense down into the red zone. Because you don't want to wear him out either. That's a part of it. I mean, we don't want HN having 30, 35 carries, which is what happened with Ricky Williams, who had a body a lot more built for that. And eventually the Dolphins basically wore him out. And that was part of the reason he bailed on them before the start of the 2024 season. Win is a win, just like when they nominated the Bills. No, it's not. No, but okay, no. Where are the slants? Where are the curls that he excels at? Yeah. Again, I haven't seen the L22. Maybe the Saints were taking those away. Defenses know the Dolphins like to do those. Screen or 2 would have helped. They didn't run a ton of those. Tua does not seem locked in at all. Is the issue of being locked in, or the issue he's just not sharp, just flat out not sharp. Noel B1 asks, thank you for the donation, Noel. Did the Dolphins get screwed on that onside kick? Didn't really buy the ruling. The ruling, as said by the official, was that the ball touched a Dolphin player. And I said this, and somebody said, no, it didn't. Well, if I said that, I thought I saw it because I thought I saw you saying, no, I didn't, doesn't mean, okay, well, no, it didn't. I could have sworn I saw on one of the replays, the ball on the last bounce grazed the thumb. And after looking at the play over and over again, it might have been Nick Westbrook-Akine. But it was insanely close, and it might have been one of those where the original ruling played a role in the final verdict because there wasn't enough evidence to overturn it. Just like, if we're going to be honest about it, there was a play to me that looked like a pick. As I watched the replay, that looked like a pick, but the original ruling was incomplete pass, and there was nothing on the replay to me to show clearly that the ball hit the ground. There was nothing clearly to show the ball didn't hit the ground. There was kind of an angle where the body is blocked a little bit. So who knows? They stuck with the call that was made, and that was the same deal with the onside kick. So I don't know. Matt O'Lear, thank you very much, sir. Thanks for all your hard work reporting on the Finns. Poop, hope you and your family had a great Thanksgiving. We did, very much appreciated, and hope you did as well. And hope everybody did. I prefer you by yourself, no guests. Poop, great opinions. Thank you very much, sir. By all means, feel free to indicate in the comments if that's a preference for everybody. Maybe that'll influence what I do. I like the back and forth as well. Sometimes I like to hear the sound of my own. No, I don't. No, I think there's something to be said for both. That's why we try to mix it up a little bit. Arstoval with a fist bump. There you go, buddy. I think H.N. looks more like, I'm going to guess that's LaDainian Tomlinson. Another good call. Another good call. I think LaDainian Tomlinson more talented in the past game, though. Not that that's not a shot at Devon H.N. LaDainian Tomlinson was the first ballot Hall of Famer. So mix is good. I like that. Okay. Ophelio says theme of this game is Tua is getting worse. That was not a good performance. That was rough. Uh-oh. Oh, I got to do this. My son's going to love this. 6-7, here we come. There you go. Got to do this. It's got to be done. 6 and 7. Who was it? On the NFL Network said Gerald McCoy did it, and my son, my teenage son, got a big kick out of it. It's a source of great laughter here in the Poupart household. Let's see what else we got here. As we're watching here, if I look up every once in a while, as I'm looking at the red zone here, the 4:00 games, got Steelers 7-0 up against the Bills. That's one of the tough ones. The Dolphins right now entered week 13 in the 11th place in the AFC standings, which means they have 4 teams to jump. So it's almost, you have to look at which teams could be easier to pass. Like the Steelers have a brutal schedule down the stretch, is why I think in my rooting guide, I think I'm almost prefer a Buffalo win. I think Buffalo might be tougher to jump because Buffalo has Cleveland left, and they have, I believe, the Jets left. And then the other 4:00 games, I think it's Seattle 10-0 over Minnesota, and the Chargers 7-0 over, Las Vegas. Harlando, Poop, that's what they call squeaky bum time. Yep, absolutely. Old man Jeb, offense looked bad. I would say it's time to move on from Tua. Again, if you're talking in season, what for Zach Wilson? Don't think so. If we're talking 2026, I don't know that you're going to find a better alternative in the draft, because the Dolphins right now probably going to be picking in the teens or in free agency, and it's not that the Dolphins are going to sign a big money guy when they're going to be having Tua with a $54 million cap number. So, bag of roasted nuts. We can no longer say the Jets game is going to be an easy win for us. You are absolutely correct. Here's a good question. Want them to go to the playoffs just to lose? Yeah. That beats the alternative of not making the playoffs, no? Guys, feel free to tell me I'm crazy. But yes, I'd rather to be in the playoffs. Michael, thank you. Hey, Michael, how are you? Hi, Alan. Thanks for the great show. McDaniel called a bad game and Tua stinks. Did McDaniel call a bad game? Really? I don't know. Tua had a rough outing. The one part that I would question with McDaniel's play calling is there were a couple of times it seemed he got away from the run game. I think, in fact, at the last first and goal, I think it was, and they ran the ball very, very well, and it was all 3 straight passes, and that basically took care of that. So, Kevin the car guy, Saints QB looked way better than Tua did. Yep. Cut Tua, eat the cap. Okay. You cut Tua with a post-June 1 designation that 60 million, his cap number of 54 million for 2026 goes up to 67 million. You cut to it without a June 1 designation, his cap number of 54 million goes up to 99 million. Just have a very, very hard time believing that that's going to get done. Really, really, really. John, I don't know if this looked good for Mike McDaniel. A W. Team's not giving up on him. It's funny. Jim Bear, that's funny. We're in the hunt, all right. In the hunt for a new head coach, new QB, a new GM. Maybe. Jericho, the rare win that feels like a loss. Yeah, that was one of those games, and I don't like those games because you go into it, and it was like anything short of the Dolphins really dominating this game was going to be a letdown. And they won, and that's good because they needed to win. But again, I don't know what happened in this game to make us feel like, yeah, they're in for a really, really strong finish. Maybe they are. I don't know, but I don't think there's any reason to feel overly optimistic about it based on the way this game played out. Whoopsie, hold on. Here we go. Shadow again. Thank you very much, Shadow. You're saying not sure they will find a better QB in the draft than Tua, but Shook as a rook and look better than Tua. That was one game, though. That was one game. For the whole season, I still think probably Tua's had a better season than Tyler Shook. But I hear what you're saying. And, yeah, if Tua continues down this road and it doesn't get any better down the stretch, yeah, I think the Dolphins need to, at the very least, find themselves a good alternative for 2026. Still keeping Tua on the roster because, again, I have a hard time believing that they would just move on and eat the cap space. What's the win-loss ratio for challenge under Mike McDaniel? I believe I saw it's 4 of 21 or 4 and 21 or something like that. It's really not good. Trying to remember, they had a challenge today and they lost it, and it was a completion down the sideline. That one. There's another one where it was called a catch initially. An absolute bear to see anything definitive on the replay, and so they kept the call. So, Phil, you have to celebrate winning when your QB is trying to make you lose. Come on. We need Waddle to say Tua needs to be better. Ophelio partner, there is exactly 2 chances of that happening. One is 0, and the other one is 0.0001%. Oh, I like that. Nice analogy. I feel again, we're married to Tua doesn't prevent us from cheating on him. Let's go get a solid backup. Okay. Scotty Joe says, keep the hopium coming. Dude, Scotty, I am saying it doesn't feel realistic right now to suggest that they're going to be in playoff contention in week 17 or 18. All I am saying is they have put themselves in a position to make a run if their level of play improves. Where's the lie? How is that hopium as opposed to straight facts? No. It's me, Seppi. Get a new GM, take next year as an evaluation year, and have the GM's real start be the following season. Should be easier to move on from a lot by then. Correct. But I hear you, but I'm thinking it might be tough to sell a GM on come and take this job, and your first year on the job is purely from an evaluation standpoint. I think what's more likely to happen is they're going to run it back with Champ Kelly, Mike McDaniel, and Tua, and you got 1 year. Show me or we blow it all up. Davis Mills is better than Tua. Again, if all we are going by is the game today, sure. But Houston's winning because their defense is outrageous. Houston is not, what are they now, 7-5? Their defense is outrageous. Their offense is completely mid. Wow. Tua looks like he's been swapped with his brother this year on the slide. That's funny. Tailua, Tagovailoa. G. Reed, Poop, what was the thinking behind bringing in Zach Wilson? That always made no sense to me. It always puzzled me as well. It was always one of those, what? Clearly, this was Mike McDaniel seeing Zach Wilson, evaluating his skill set, and thinking, yeah, I can get something out of him. And it was very weird. And the fact that they moved Quinn Ewers ahead of him for 1 week also was very weird. Now we're back to Quinn Ewers being the emergency third quarterback. It was very weird. It was just didn't make a ton of sense to me either. But I tend to defer in situations like these to Mike McDaniel and the GM. But yeah, it was weird. Dylan, would you take Kirk Cousins over to can I pass and not take either? Kirk Cousins is a guy who will look good once in a while, put up good numbers, and then at the end of the game, he'll lose. And in fact, today's a perfect example. 234, 1 touchdown, no pick. They lost. I mean, there's just something about him that I don't necessarily love. Harlando Biggers really looks like a bright spot. What do you think of the 3 rookie bulldozers? If I think I might go simmer down a little bit. I think they have very good potential, very intriguing for how good they can become in the future. Biggers has been making more and more plays. Jordan Phillips is very sturdy against the run. Kenneth Grant flashes here and there. I think there's every reason to be optimistic with those 3, but we're not there yet. Mandalorian, can anyone put their finger on why Tua has regressed so much? Yeah, I think there's a combination of factor. Doesn't have Tyreek Hill. Maybe an accumulation of injuries last couple of years. Lack of confidence in the offensive line for a lot of the season. I think those would be the things that kind of stand out. Even if the Dolphins win out, it'll be a tough road to get to the playoffs. We will need a lot of help. Yeah, I understand that, and because I know a lot of folks are already pointing out the Dolphins have a bad AFC record. It's going to get better, obviously, if the Dolphins get to, say, 9-8 at the very least. And yes, they already have a loss against Baltimore. They already have a loss against Indianapolis. They already have a loss against who else? Those are the two teams that come to mind. But those will come into play if there's head-to-head tiebreaker situations, as opposed to if it's a three-team tie. So we shall see. Richard, 5-12. Here we come. They're not going 5-12, but okay. I want Minka to get the win against the Steelers. Okay. Let's see what we got here. Got some more comments here. Chargers, another team against who they lost. EJ says not only his hip, but his cognitive cogency is spotty. He has his good days, which are increasingly few. Okay. Our Stovall said, we downing 2 on 2 bad plays. One was the INT terrible. 2 was maybe the throw to Waller. If HN would have caught that TD pass and Jay Hill catch the ball, I don't think we're talking the same, really. He had a couple of other throws that were off the mark. And again, those throws to HN and Julian Hill, yeah, they're catchable. Are you going to suggest that they were good throws? They're not very long throws, and they were both behind them on crossers. Sorry, he doesn't get absolved of those, especially since everybody wants to brag about his accuracy, his quote-unquote, and this is a term that if I never hear again in my lifetime, I'll be very happy, because it's ridiculous. Not only as it pertains to Tua, but it pertains to any player, any athlete in every sport other than Marvel comic heroes, that superpower, BS, annoying crap. But that was supposed to be his quote-unquote superpower, the accuracy. He certainly wasn't there on those throws. Yes, they were catchable. No, they shouldn't. They shouldn't have had to be made to have catches like that. So yeah, no, I'm not downing 2 on just 2 bad plays. 2 had a bad game, and the first sack also didn't get rid of the ball and stayed in the pocket. So you want to absolve 2 of all blame, by all means. Omar, go right ahead. Oh, I'm sorry, did I say that out loud? Sorry. See what I did there, guys? What else we got? What do we do with Chubb? I think on the quiet, he's having a real good year. You know what? With Chubb, to me, his game has like picked up. I mean, like massively ever since the Dolphins traded Jalen Phillips to the Eagles. Like he's become a new guy. He has really, really picked it up, and he has played very well. So, watching Tua trying to escape pressure is fugly. Is there any quarterback less mobile? Yeah, he's up there. He is up there. And he used to have at least some mobility to escape the pocket a little bit. But let's be hypothetical for a minute. If Miami made the playoffs and won one game, does that truly change the feel for the season? Oh, hell yeah, it does. Big time. Big time. I mean, they don't make the playoffs, the season is a failure. The most you will say about the season is props to them for not giving up. If they make the playoffs and won one game, that's a rousing success, particularly where they were at 1-6. That massively changes the feel for the season. It's me, Seppi. Is there a difference between cutting him and keeping/paying him with no expectation in the season? Aren't you paying the money regardless? No. Here's the thing: you're paying more. Actually, he counts more on your cap number if he's not on the team, unless you're able to find a trading partner. To which I say, good luck. Again, his cap number right now, it's 54 or 56 million. I always make the two mixed up. I believe it's 54 million. If you cut him, it moves to either 67 next year and another 32 in 2027, or it goes to 99 next year. So, no, it's not the same thing at all. That's a very good point, too. Don't know why everyone wants to sacrifice next year. We ain't even there yet. Very good point. This is one of the best GM jobs in the NFL, to which I would say or ask, why? Not sure. Eat the cap. Who cares? They aren't winning next year. Okay. Limitations with Tua is an understatement. I'm trying to be polite. I always make a very strong effort to be polite. Exactly, people forget Tua was out the end of the season last year was because of his hip, and you can see it because getting worse, the balls coming out look flat. And yet, he was on the injury report a couple of weeks earlier this season with a hip, and he hasn't been on the injury report at all. And if players get treatment for an injury during practice, during the practice week, they have to be on the injury report. That's not happened for a couple of months already. 7-7 Chargers versus Raiders. Correct. That is correct. Let's see what we got here. Going to keep going a little bit longer here, a little bit more, and then we'll call it a day. Can the Dolphins pay Tua a bonus and reduce the cap hit? You can't reduce the cap hit without tacking on more years and more cap commitment down the road. You can lighten it for next year, but then, which is why they could have done that this year. His salary cap number was $39 million this year. They could have reduced it by extending him. But no. My Bears got the 1 seed after the Rams lose. Yeah, those Bears are no joke. They're impressive. There's a lot of good teams out there. EJ, that's funny. Capitan Poupart is my sportif superhero. That's funny. I don't have a superpower, though. Actually, my superpower, if I had one, would be to not BS. Bubble, if the Dolphins brass does a full-on, like Omar says, scorched earth rebuild, we have a chance to be great. If not, we stay mid. I'm not opposed to it. I just don't know if it's going to happen. I like this question here. Jeff, my man Jeff here. Hold on. Where was it? Here we go. Jeff, what's your type of coffee you enjoy? Do you grind your own? No, I buy the Keurig. My brother grinds his own coffee, and it tastes like gasoline. You need to start your car. That's how strong it is. I don't like my coffee that strong. I buy K-Cup, Tim Hortons K-Cups. Not opposed to the McDonald's coffee I like very much. I like the Dunkin' Donuts coffee as well, but Tim Hortons is my go-to. Julian Vivas. Julian, how are you, sir? Is there a chance Wilson starts against the Jets? No. Do you want to see the Zach Wilson revenge game? Yeah, that would be fun, but no. In fact, the last game Zach Wilson started was a Dolphins-Jets game. That was in 2023 at Hard Rock Stadium. The game the Dolphins won 30-0, and Wilson left the game at halftime with a concussion after Zach Sealer knocked the crap out of him. I think it might have been on the first series. Oh, G. Reed, Alain, I live in New England now, within driving distance to Montreal and Quebec City. Which do you prefer? Yes. Depends what you're looking for. There are more things to do in Montreal. Quebec City is very, very, very picturesque. So you think Weaver will be a head coach candidate? 60-40, yes. Man, I would have loved to see Madison in the offense. I think that would have been super interesting with the extra lineman wrinkle added recently. Maybe. He was looking good before he got hurt. Blah, 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 blah. Did we lose today? Okay, so since I said no BS, dude, you're getting a bit annoying. Okay, again, for just strictly for blah, 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 everybody else, they're the realists over here. Take a pause for a second. The Dolphins were absolutely amazing to go into the Super Bowl. They handled their business against the New Orleans Saints with a 21-17 hard-fought victory that put them on the path to the playoffs as they continue their run with now their third consecutive win. Okay, end of BS. Are we back now? Okay. Serious. Is that what you want to hear? Pas de BS, d'accord. There you go. A little French here. I like it. Whoops. Harlander, always likened back to and for a couple of years he played well, ignoring the bumpy noggin, but he was always going to have a short tenure with the hip. He's just the other part. The bottom line, he is not built to last. He's just not built. You don't see that many quarterbacks of that size who play very long in the NFL. In today's NFL, I should say, because of course now somebody's going to throw out Drew Brees. In today's NFL, and he had the nasty hip injury in college at Alabama. He also had an ankle injury that required surgery. That with the banding was that what it was called? David Pridham, I saw so many danger signs today. I believe Jets will beat them next week. The streak is full goals. Blah, 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 blah. XZXBX. Don't listen to David. He doesn't know what he's talking about. See what I did there? Okay. Trade Tua and Mike to Steelers for Tomlin. Imagine Mike McDaniel becomes head coach for Ramsey again. That's funny. Yeah, and the Steelers would do that because why? No. Let's see. Okay, what we got here? We don't win without that bad interception call. Yeah, where exactly that happened? So the score when that happened, it was 16-8, I believe it was. Yeah, it was 16-8, and it's the first play of the drive that ended with the Dolphins kicking a field goal to go up 19-8. Yeah, it certainly would have made a difference. Don't know if it was a close call. I don't know if I call it like a bad call. It was really close, and like I said, one of those where if you ask me, I may win $1 million if I make the correct call. I think it was a pick, but Harlando, Jack Jones still giving me poor man's X vibes. Yeah, poor man, yeah. Poor man. I mean, X was a hell of a player when he was in his prime. We're stuck with Tua for another year, but McDaniel we can't keep. He just isn't a head coach. It's been 4 years, and we still can't make adjustments at the half. All I'm going to tell you is brace yourself. Hello. Brace yourself for the idea that you possibly could be back. What position would you draft first round if the draft started tomorrow for this team to have immediate impact? Immediate impact for tomorrow. It depends where it depends which player is available, which depends how high in the draft. I think, like right now, the only position I don't see this team drafting whatsoever is running back, because they just spent the last 3 years picks on Achane, Ollie Gordon, and Jalen Wright. To me, that would be some very poor draft capital management. So outside of that, you can use practically player at any other position. Tua McDaniel, yin and yang connected at the hip. Yeah, kind of, sort of. Does Bonner have chronic hamstring issues? He's had issues with it a couple times. I don't know if he has chronic hamstring issues. A few good wide receivers look good this draft to me. Okay. Those are good wide receivers, or good wide receivers are easy to come by. You need to generally draft very high to get a truly special one. And by truly special, I mean Jamar Chase, Jason Justin Jefferson, who the Dolphins could have had. Tyreek Hill went in the 5th or 6th round for reasons other than his play on the field. Julian asked, what will the QB room look like in 2026? It's going to be Tua Tagovailoa, it's going to be Quinn Ewers, and it's going to be a veteran to be named later, would be my guess right now. Ophelio, I have to say, despite the concerns at the beginning of the season on cornerbacks and the injuries, GM did pretty well, or good luck, or both. Yeah. Jack Jones and Rasul Douglas have panned out, and they've become pretty solid players. Absolutely, without question. So, on that note, that's going to wrap it up. We will be back here Monday to discuss the game further. It will be me and a guest. Mystery guest, could be Perk, could be Lavica, could be Dante. Who knows? But we will be back. In the meantime, thanks so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, share, comment, all that good stuff. Please check out the written content at MiamiDolphinsOnSI.com. Everything for free. And then we will back here again, as I said, on Monday. And in the meantime, enjoy the rest of your Sunday.